there. I wanted to make a really quick video to show you how the scores are calculated for STAAR. And disclaimer, I do not work for TA. Do not come at me with comments about STAAR. That's not what this video is about. This is just to help enlighten you as to how the scores are calculated based on my experience being on volunteer committees. I happen to be on the 2023 educator committee that determined the cut scores that they do every 5 years. So I wanted to share that experience with you and hopefully help enlighten you to how they come up with these scores. So that is why I'm making this video. So what you're looking at right now, this is the cut scores. So if you do a search on Google and you just do cut scores, STAAR, RLA 2026, and you type in the grade level, it'll bring you to this page. Or you can type what you see at the address bar, which is just student assessment, raw score conversion tables. That's what they're called. And if you go down, you'll see they have the 2026 new cut scores, and you can click on your grade level for RLA, math, English 1, English 2, whatever subject you teach. And so that is how you will pull up what you see here. So this is the raw score conversion table, otherwise known as the cut scores. So this one that you're looking at is spring 2026. So this is 4th grade. And if you look over here on the left, I want to explain these numbers to you. So basically they would need 17 points or 17 questions answered correctly in order to pass, in order to get approaches. And that is a scale score of 14. Okay, so that is the passing. Now, if you go back to 2025, same grade level, so this one is 4th grade, 2025, it only needed, so it says 17, which is the same number. Now, sometimes it might be different numbers. So if you look at meets, it is 26 and 1552 is the scale score. So if you look at meets down here, 28, that's a different number, but the 1552 is the same. So what that means is that they always need 1,552 points on the scale score in order to get meets every year in 4th grade for the past 3 or 4 years. And that will continue basically for 5 years until they redo the cut scores. So what people go crazy about is they don't understand how this number changes. So why does this change from 28 to 26? So the reason is basically because when they are adding up all of difficulty points on each question separately, they come up with a scale score. So the scale score is determined by the difficulty of that year's test. Okay, so certain questions based on field test data, they have a difficulty level. Okay, so basically when I was on that committee, we determined, a group of educators along with TA, we determined that about 17 questions for 4th grade was about what they needed in order to get approaches. Okay, so where that comes from, and I made a post about this a while ago on Facebook. This is the post. I just searched cut scores and the post came up, but this is called the performance level descriptors. And if you look at this, it tells you exactly what they need for each STAAR score. So if you look at, this is does not meet, and this is approaches. So if you look at approaches, it basically says things like determine the meaning of unfamiliar and multiple meaning words, identify elements of literary text. So they should be able to do basic things, but it's not going to be as deep as when you look at the meets and masters. So when you look at the verbs, meets has explain, author's purpose, explain literary text, things like that. Approaches is more like identify. identify, make simple inferences. Okay, so basically, when we were on this committee, we determined that about 17 questions, we went through and analyzed every single question on the test. And we determined that about 17 questions were questions that approaches student, someone on the approaches level, would be able to answer correctly. Okay, so there are 17, think of it like 17 basic, simple questions that they should be able to answer correctly. Okay, and that is going to be the scale score of 1414, which does not ever change. Okay, now meets this year, this is 2026, they have to get 26 questions correct to get meets, and then they need 37 to get masters. And if you look at the previous year, it was 28 and 38. So what inference can we make with that? We can make inference that if we needed 28 points to get meets, and now we only need 26 points to get meets, that must mean the test is a lot harder in 2026. The meets questions are harder and the masters questions were harder. And so it's going to be slightly different by 1 or 2 questions, but it's not going to be more than 1 or 2 points or 1 or 2 questions. So this number between 26 and 28, it's only a difference of 2. And you're going to notice that every year it's not going to be that different. It's going to be just 1 or 2 points. And so that is because the difficulty is going to vary slightly. And so they are calculating every single test question with a difficulty level. Okay. And so masters, there are 37 questions that if they can answer those, that shows that they are at a master's level out of the total questions 52. 52 is the points, not the questions. So also, I want to point out, if you look at this number over here on the right, this is not percentage, this is percentile, okay? So that means if you look at 25, that means you were in the 25th percentile. That means 75% of Texas kids got higher than you on the test. Okay, it's not percentage, it's percentile. And so 50 is always going to be around meets. Okay. And you'll notice that for all the grades. Now, another thing I wanted to point out is the approaches, it's 17 points out of 52. And so the percentage, you're going to think, wow, that's only 30% of the tests that they're getting correct. Yes. That's because it is not, you can't think of it like 70% is passing. It's not like a letter grade in school, okay? It is based on leveling the kids based on those categories. So it all comes back to these performance level descriptors. And if you look at this 2-page document that TA has on their website, this will really help you to understand what is masters, what is meets, what is approaches, and what is does not meet. And basically all of the questions on the test level them in one of those 4 categories. So I hope this helped to just understand why that number changes. The scale score never changes. That number, if you look at your approaches number, is going to be the same every single year. It doesn't change. The only number that changes is the number of points. That will change by 1 or 2 points depending on the level of difficulty of the test. So I hope this helped you to understand. If you have any questions, let me know. But I hope this video helped. Thanks. Bye.